clicker. All right, well, I love you. Hi, that's me, Giant Face. My name is Justine Shade. I'm a project coordinator with World Education, which is a nonprofit based out of Boston. I've been working with World Education for just about 2 years. My background is in applied linguistics and teaching English, just because of other languages. So I'm an educator and a linguist turned into a researcher. And I'm here to talk about some work that we're doing in the US, but I do work in the US, Africa, Asia, but we're going to focus on some US-based materials today. So a little bit about what we're going to cover today. This work is done through the Create Adult Skills Network. We'll dig into what that is. Look at some really fun scenarios around the categories within this library, using it, and a little bit of a resource relay sort of situation. So the Create Adult Skills Network is made up of 6 research teams investigating technology-enabled instruction, and the network overall aims to improve academic outcomes using technology interventions in the classroom. We bring together educators and researchers, policymakers, all sorts of different folks coming together to really translate research into practical applications for practitioners, making education research more applicable for you all. So I think, who's in the audience? Do you work at like a school? Are you a practitioner? Who's here? Career Academy.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And so I was just sharing with you that a lot of the things that teachers use right now, because we have a Canvas, they use Edpuzzle. I don't know if that would be considered
Yes,
Edtech,
yes.
but a lot of it is Edpuzzle videos. And,
Great. Awesome. Okay. And I recognize your face, but I can't place you right now. Remind me what you do.
So I am the program director for distance digital learning for Louisiana Community.
I knew your face. Yep.
So, with the idea of
Yep, that's exactly what I was like. I know your face. I just can't place it right now. And what about you? What do you do in the front?
Oh, hello, I'm just a teacher.
Okay, not just a teacher. That's like, we don't accept that in this. And I think our only other friend, I know Eliana online and what she does. Okay, amazing. So the aim of this library that we're going to talk about today is to guide practitioners to integrate technology into the classroom in some capacity, whether it's like full integration, online education, or if it's more distance education, hybrid, high flex, whatever it looks like, just bringing digital technology into education. It's no secret that educators have a lot of resources at your disposal. I know when I was teaching ESOL teacher, I was looking through a lot of different things all of the time, and it's a little overwhelming, and it's sometimes hard to know what you want to bring into the classroom. And so what is really special about the TA library is that it is completely made for adult educators. There's no K-12 materials here. It is all adult education applicable. And it's really meant to support practitioners, curriculum designers, whoever, in bringing that tech into the classroom. This will hopefully make it easier to identify resources that you want to use or think about how you want to bring that tech in. So the first thing to know about the library is that there's 6 categories within it. So how to provide instruction through different modes, figuring out what kind of instructional content you want, managing your courses, assessing that learning, communicating with your learners, and planning to use technology in the classroom. And we're going to do some activities together to think about this. Eliana or anyone else who's joined us online, you can participate in the chat. But digital tools can be, digital tools and content can be deployed in a lot of different instructional modes. So again, distance education, hybrid education, fully online learning. There's so many different ways that you can bring tech into a classroom. And we are going to meet Juliana, who is a newer ABE instructor, adult basic education instructor, who needs your help. So she works in an organization that offers classes in multiple modalities. She can kind of choose what she wants to do, and she needs to make an effective choice for how to maximize flexibility in the classroom and really provide relevance to her students in that way. She wants resources for understanding the different kinds of modalities. So what's the difference between HighFlex? What's the difference between online learning? Those different kinds of things. So before we look at library resources, I want to hear from you. What resources would you recommend if you had a teacher or a colleague, another fellow teacher who's like, I kind of want to do online teaching. Like, where do you think I should start? Does anyone have any recommendations of resources that you would point them to? That might be like something that your organization has created and it's like an internal guide, or maybe it's something like, I read this really great article that does this. Any ideas coming to mind?
We use Canvas, but that's more like an online portal to put in.
Sure.
Teachers create their self-pacing modules of their instruction.
Yeah. So maybe guidance on how to use Canvas, right?
We have some providers in our network that have some nice online programming and some training. And so kind of take a peek at what some of the other providers in the state are doing.
Great.
And then you and them talk about like, what do you like, not like about it.
Cool.
Share those resources.
Love that. What about
Yeah,
you?
we've got an internal system to learn how to prompt for ChatGPT.
Okay, great. I'm gonna call to a couple of resources. Oh, I forgot to click that button, but understanding different modalities. So recognizing different affordances of technology, distinguishing between them, and understanding how to implement that tech. So all of the things we just covered, I just didn't click the button. So in the Edtech TA library, there's a couple of resources that I would maybe recommend because I did just put you all on the spot and you were not prepared for a pop quiz. So HighFlex and Adult Education Playlist. This is a playlist of videos that include guidance on how to bring HighFlex instruction and integrate that into your classroom. Or the Transforming Distance Education. This is a course that is designed to provide strategies and resources for setting up and implementing distance education. Or maybe tips and tools for online learning, which is a webinar. It's a video on how to bring online learning, like if you're transitioning from all in person to online, giving you those tips and tricks that you would need to better do that. And all of these resources cover the subcategories that we just looked through for providing instruction through different modes. I saw someone taking pictures, so I want to make sure that all pictures are good. I will also share the slides afterwards too. So yeah, you will get slides. We're going to do the same thing again. I'm going to put you on the spot, but I'm going to tell you now so that you have time to think about it. So determine any instructional content, programs and practitioners like our friend Andrew here. They have a lot of options when trying to determine what content they want to bring into the classroom. Do you want to create it? Do you want to adapt something? What do you need to do? And is it an online curricula? Is it open educational resources? Is it something else? There's so much content already available to us, and we often already have curriculum. What do we need to do with that or with something else in the classroom? So, there we go. Who here has ever made something for a classroom? I say hand. I know I have, because like the curriculum you were using was missing something. Like it's a universal experience. A textbook is never going to have everything because it couldn't possibly cover our learners and all of the diversity that they have. So we're going to look at some resources in a second, but first, are there resources that you would recommend to a colleague or that you wish you had had early on in your career, thinking like, I would love help authoring my own resources. I wish that I had help knowing how to adapt existing materials. Are there tools and resources that you've previously used that you're like, I would totally have loved to have that when I was first starting? Any ideas? ReadWorks.
I've used ReadWorks a lot, knowing already the lifestyle of the student that I'm working with. If I want to provide an intervention to improve reading comprehension, I have the student identify what subject, what topic of passages he's interested in. And then from there, I pick the lexile, and then we look at what's already there, which is good vocabulary, and we go over the vocabulary. Then I scaffold it further, giving him or her sentence stems, writing rubrics to write good sentences about the passage that he or she has read.
Yeah.
Also write questions that the student might have about the passage before reading the passage with the 5W words. So I've been using that.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds a little bit like locating and choosing, efficiently finding quality digital instruction content. How can I make sure that I'm finding things that are relevant to my learners and making sure it's appropriate for them? So there's stuff in the library for helping you do those sorts of things, helping you find material. So the Edtech Makerspace Project Design and Facilitation Guide is a great guide that helps with the start to, hi, welcome in.
I'm sorry, they're both marked as yes, and is this empowering adult learners, adult educators?
With Edtech
A
implementation?
year complex and tech?
Nope, that's next door.
Thank you.
No problem. So designed for start to finish for Edtech Makerspaces, which are service learning opportunities for teachers. So professional development, how can I create something like that? Or the guide to finding and using images. How can I make sure that I'm finding materials that are open and free and I'm not going to get a copyright infringement for taking a picture off of Google? The activity design and evaluation guide. So making sure that when I'm creating materials for my learners, that I'm being thoughtful about it and it is designed effectively and that it's open and it's culturally relevant and all sorts of different pieces like that. Or the Edtech strategy session on designing reusable activities. So how am I putting together materials that are reusable that I can build a template for and then remake into something else? Now we're gonna shift gears a little bit. We've talked through a couple examples as a group, but we're gonna pivot and I'm gonna make you all talk to each other and do this. So I want to talk a little bit about managing courses and instruction. So things like selecting tech that supports my learners, because there's so many different kinds of technology that can come into the classroom. In so many different ways. Again, we've talked about HighFlex, online, distance education, and we're going to brainstorm together some technical assistance resources that offer different strategies for offering different courses and instruction in different modes. So everyone's going to be forced to collaborate. I hope that you're ready. And let's see, I don't know if, yeah.
About library. How does it work? Where does the material come from? Is it like from previous inputs?
Yes, and we will dive into that shortly.
Okay.
Yes, we are coming on it. So a good example is like selecting technology. Jamboard, for instance, is really good for collaboration, but it's not very good for assessment. Kahoot is really good for a hybrid assessment. We can make sure that our students are understanding and learning, but it doesn't allow them to collaborate very well. So how am I managing my courses? How am I choosing different things? So what I'd like you to do is talk with the people around you and think as a group about any resources related to this topic. Like if you were just starting out, or if someone came to you and said, I want to select a platform to best organize my content and share with my learners, what would you suggest to them? Are there tools and resources that you're aware of that you would suggest? So we're going to take, let's say, 3 minutes to talk in small groups. So I feel like that's a nice little huddle. If you'd like to come forward.
Yeah.
Would you like to join this group up here? Okay, perfect. I just want to make sure. And Eliana, I think Jen is monitoring the chat. So if you have ideas, please feel free to drop it. That's okay.
Some textbook activities.
So it's fine with all
So we just go into the Google server, and download the website and create an account.
So
I mean,
we got-
it was dragging with this, like, what to do?
Yeah, but which one?
The free version, the one that you don't pay.
That's like.
And it would ask you, prompt me something. And you say,
Okay, that works.
please write for me an activity for this type of student. Well, you have to give the school.
There's a lot of them.
It will create worksheets for you.
Yeah, and then, yes, and then it has a button, you can copy the text to Word document. You have to get rid of all the stuff that it comes with.
It comes out of your question, so it's just.
You can acknowledge the source as well.
There are, you just got to.
That is another one that's
Approved.
It's very
Good, yes.
Well, something, my version was, I did a presentation. And after doing the presentation, I wanted to create something to hand to the students. So
Yeah,
I
so that's
used
the difficulty.
the, online presentation to create
Just
that.
create that.
Ebook, so they would give.
Were you able to add videos?
Yes.
We
I
found out
see.
that it's sort of like-
Pages.
On the house, it's like,
Presentation and ask it to
I am
you.
planning to ghost, with the ghost ship and all. Right.
It's
Why
free.
in the-
It's free.
the website,
I'm
gonna look
that,
at my
and it's
name.
workforce.
Because I've heard AI. for
But
email.
using that to build it so that we can then have a program, we can start building it out. So.
I know, I've read that everyone goes back. I changed the way that
Right,
this presentation is
exactly.
meant to
So-
be, of course, we can talk together, but, it's hard
It's a great
sometimes to like
system where
think of
you can start
like
providing
materials and
synchronous
stuff.
education.
Because that's the one thing, and we'll get into this, is like, this library is not instructional resources. You are not gonna
Not
find
every
curriculum
program
here,
can do
you
that.
are not gonna find anything that is like a lesson ready to go,
Every
so that's not what this
So
library
the
is.
more we can
It is
unify what we
sort
do,
of, okay,
kind of
I want
platforms we
to
use, and
make sure
that's what
that
Bridge is so
I'm
great for.
on the right LMS for my learners, or whatever it is. And it turns out, none of my learners have ever used Canvas before, but all of them have Google emails. Some of them do Google Classroom because it's already there. So how do I get started with Google Classroom? Here's this great resource, that kind of stuff.
It's a slow process, but.
But I'm,
Everyone's
but I'm
also
hearing
told,
AI,
well,
and I'm
I've been doing
hearing
this for forever,
ebooks,
and
which
I use this
we can
stuff.
talk about how there are some.
Canvas. We don't use, we're not allowed to use Google Classroom anymore.
Now, like,
In the past, but now.
Oh, yeah.
do that, so I find it-
But I think, what you're talking about, the tools you're talking about are still really relevant because we can talk about what is in the library that can support some of those things. Or is there other gaps? Maybe there's a really great resource about how to use ebooks. Document,
Yeah,
what that
that's
means, you know what I mean?
The GD teacher used a lot of
Just
Nearpod quizzes. What's the other one?
Oh,
Nearpod quizzes, there's another one. I can't remember.
Maybe I should use that all. There's Quizlet.
Maybe
Oh, it's
Quizlet.
just limiting you word wall. There's so many great.
Common that you thinking about.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
It's great.
So, yeah, would you call it a library because
It's a library because it's a repository of resources, so it's not a library of curricula, it's a library of like, how do I do this? Rather than, how do I teach this? If that makes sense.
It's like how to just.
So can we ask it how do we use?
How to present it in AI.
It was really great to kind of frame it.
Ah. Yeah, like there are resources about what is ChatGPT?
Oh, I.
What is that? There's a resource in the library, what is ChatGPT? Like, what are the basics of what I need to know about how to get started with AI?
There's another one, Padlet.
Yeah.
Virtual manipulative for math. Virtual manipulative for,
You must do Padlet before the time.
Padlet is God. Padlet,
Yeah. Anything new and exciting that you want to share? No, okay. So this group had brought up a couple of things like AI and like understanding how to use AI in the classroom, and ebooks was a new tool. And I know, because I've spent a lot of time in this library, that there's not anything about how to use ebooks. There's not anything about that as a way to like build like part of build out part of your course or choosing instructional content for that. But that's a gap that we could maybe address and say, oh, maybe there's materials. Yeah, I bet we could find something and get that added to the library. So, yeah, no, yeah, oh yeah, and the other thing we talked about was AI. And we did talk about how there is materials in the library for what is ChatGPT? How do I bring artificial intelligence into my classroom thoughtfully? Another piece of learning, and I know that you'll feel this deeply for assessing learning as the teacher in the room. So effective and consistent assessment really ensures progress and comprehension. That's not new news. I'm not telling you anything groundbreaking. But it's really an important component of instruction that can get overlooked. And it can be challenging to bring that into Edtech based classrooms. Like, how do I effectively assess my students online? How do I make sure that I'm doing it in a thoughtful way? Especially when you're used to doing everything pen and paper, it can be a shift. Google Forms, Jotform, like those traditional formative assessments versus something more summative. And so we're going to talk in small little groups again. And this time we're going to think about assessing learning. So if you needed help to identify strategies for developing assessments, like how do I develop some kind of digital assessment? How can a digital tool support building an assessment more? Or what are some strategies? Because it's going to be different online because there are so many different ways that you can build it out that you can't necessarily do it on paper, like branching activities, if you're familiar with that. Versus choosing and implementing technology. So I need help leveraging technologies to support and assess learners, and I need to implement a tech that accounts for the skills of learners and myself. Because that's the other thing about EdTech that gets overlooked. It's not just about what my students can do with technology, it's about what I can do. I need to set myself up for success so that I'm not like, ooh, I don't know how to help you with that. So we're gonna talk with our same groups, or if you guys are feeling bold and wanna mix it up and talk to new people, we're gonna take a couple minutes to ask yourself, are there any materials that I'm aware of that would help me or help a colleague make a Google form or do some kind of assessment using the digital tool? Am I aware of anything at all that would support that? So I'm gonna force you to talk again, more chatting.
One big group.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, great. Eliana or anyone online, feel free to join the chat. Does anything? Yeah, well, she's the only one online right now.
Yeah, right. So
Anyone who watches this recording is gonna be like, "Who is Eliana?" And why does she keep talking to her? Does anything come to mind for anyone?
So you said, and your resources that the teacher wants to learn how to do Google Forms?
Not just Google Forms, like any kind of assessment. So if I came to you and said, hey, I need to give my students an assessment and I don't know where to start, are there any resources you could point me to? Like beyond just saying, oh, just use Google Forms. Well, are there any resources? Like, would you just send me to the how to Google form? Is there an internal,
YouTube.
again, YouTube, okay, YouTube, like maybe there's a webinar that I know about. But if there's anything off the top of your mind where you're like, oh, I totally know a resource that would help with that. Because there are in the library, and we'll take a look and we'll poke around in a little bit. But
Well, I work a lot with Cambridge Online Dictionary, Cambridge Library, Tanika as well.
sure.
Is there something like that in there?
The only thing I can think of.
I don't know. I've never used. I don't know if they have any material. Is it like a dictionary? Like I give it the word and it gives me a dictionary.
Yes, but so many uses
So
and
many
pronunciation and origin.
Oh, that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Function, speech,
That's the Cambridge Online Dictionary.
I see what you're saying. I feel like you could think about how do I use online dictionaries to assess my learners on vocabulary.
Oh, I see you're behind that.
Yeah,
That
like
way
how
you
do I just do the assessment? How do I get at that? Yeah.
see. Okay,
Yeah.
I see we come.
Any thoughts?
Well, I would say the only thing I can think of, let's say if an instructor came to me and I said, hey, use Google Forms, and the instructor says, how do I use Google Forms? I would then point them to some place like GCF free
Okay.
to learn the steps
That's a
there.
great example.
Yeah.
Does everyone else know GCF
No,
Learn Free? So GCF Learn Free is from Goodwill Industries, and they have free online courses on how to do different things like
how to make a Google form or,
UCF learn to read.
GCF.
yeah, that's such a great example though. Other ideas? It's okay if not, we're gonna do a scavenger hunt. and I-
That's what we need, because we don't.
No, and that's okay, well, you know, some people are like chock full of like, oh, I've made like 18 different things. I've put out webinars on every single thing, and we just wanna make sure that we're not missing something, and we'll get to this in a little bit, but tap into your brains to see what you're already aware of, what you don't know about, because hopefully this library is going to expose you to things that you don't know about, and hopefully makes you feel excited to talk about these different things. Anyone else have ideas before I go stand up?
So,
Speaking to myself, that we might not, you know, maybe those other crowds were like younger and so.
No, you guys are doing amazing, like,
So this is knowing the fact that teachers know what indicators they have to teach for that week, for that day, like knowing, so they have that information already.
yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be. If I wasn't sure and I just needed to get started with an assessment, maybe it's a resource on how do I assess my learners that are beginning level ESOL. Like how do I do that online? How do I use Edtech and bring that in? Maybe it's things like quizzes, maybe it's things like EDU puzzle, maybe it's because those are more user friendly. Maybe I am doing Google Form because I know that they already have Gmail accounts and that's a more familiar tool, like that is just click and move versus things that are like manipulatives that could be really hard for someone who's not as digitally literate.
Right.
So understanding the skills that I have, the skills that my learners have to assess them effectively. Because we don't ever want digital tools to be a barrier to accurate assessment either. And that's like a question, right? How do we make sure that we're not assuming that my students know how to do things online and then they're not doing well on a test because they don't know the material, because they don't know how to use tools.
So I can think of something very simple, for example, building a digital portfolio, something that you want your students to do throughout the course. How do you explain that to them? If you don't, you yourself, you don't understand how it goes, you know?
Exactly, so having materials on like, how do I build a digital portfolio? How do I bring digital portfolios into my classroom?
And I don't have to explain it myself because I don't have the knowledge.
Don't we have to have the digital literacy skills first before?
Sometimes it's
Identify which
a
skill.
concurrent thing, sometimes you're building digital literacy.
While explain, yeah.
Yeah,
It's something really, like, something really interesting that happened to me with a group of students is that, here I am thinking, we're not teenagers, they're up to all the technology.
They know.
And then it turns out that they didn't know how to use we had desktops at that time.
Yeah.
And they didn't know how to say, right? And they were like, no, because they do everything on their phone.
Yeah. there's.
And they don't
They
know
wrote
how.
that.
No, but I mean, the phone.
It's largely that there's a big digital divide and the discrepancy between small screen devices and large screen devices. Younger generations, they are assumed to know technology, but it's that they know small screen devices, they know
Yeah.
phones, they know tablets, they do not know how to use laptops, they don't know how to use computers.
And that's
Not
not
everyone,
forgetting.
that is not a blanket
But,
statement, but it happens a lot,
Yeah.
and things like that. How do I give an assessment to students who only have, or another example of people who only have mobile devices, not because they're young, but like a lot of ESOL learners only have mobile devices. And so it's like, how do I give an assessment? Like, for instance, Padlet is not particularly mobile friendly, or, and especially the sandbox, that is not a mobile friendly way to have people collaborate. Versus Google Forms, which is mobile optimized, that is a much better way to assess, using the devices that students have. So tools to think about assessing learning, things in the Edtech TA library, thinking about what tools do my students have, what skills do they have, that is what this library is about. So we're gonna jump into a little bit of diving. Yeah, you asked about this. I'm here to give it. So using the TA library, and we actually have 2 more categories, but I'm gonna break down a little bit of how do we navigate this library before I force you into a scavenger hunt.
When did it originate, this library, the create?
Through the Create Skills Network, Create Adult Skills Network, 2 years ago.
We're adding to it all the time.
Yeah, this is an open, active thing, and that's part of why we're talking together, seeing if there's resources.
Well, well, just wait. Once I give you the QR code.
Yeah.
So, so the last two categories of the TA library, we're going to do an overview of those. I'm going to have you do a scavenger hunt, and for online folks too, because I'm seeing people pop in and pop out. So there are 3 navigation strategies that I would say there are for navigating the library. So all of the resources in the library are identified by the type of resource. So instructional versus informational materials. So instructional or informational materials are things like research and programmatic materials versus instructional materials are things like webinars and toolkits, guides, like the more like hands-on, like I'm applying this sort of information. You can sort of by format. So maybe you don't want to read anything about any of this. You just want to watch videos. We have a way that you can sort it so you're only looking at webinars. You can do it so that I only want guides. I want true like step-by-step guidance on how to do things. So that's another way to sort and filter through in the library. And then by category. So the 4 that we've looked at so far, and then the 2 that we're about to do the scavenger hunt for.
So this tool is for teachers to use for the
Yep.
students.
Practitioners and programs to understand how to implement Edtech.
Yes, would this work for like, also students with disabilities, like?
We have a portion of accessibility. So that's actually funny you say that, because one of the other things about the library is there's a keyword search. So you can keyword search for things, and my examples written in my notes are accessibility and artificial intelligence. So you can search for those keywords and find materials related to accessibility, related to artificial intelligence, and seek those out and say, I need help with adding this to my classroom. So yeah. Yes, yeah, no, there's no student facing material in this. Yeah.
Can it help you to build instructions for an activity?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So a good example, and we just started talking about this a little bit, like mobile phone only, communicating with and supporting our learners. So obviously, arguably the most essential piece of teaching is communicating with our learners effectively. And for distance and online education, that means understanding what tools they have to communicate with and what best supports them. So maybe your learners need something outside of an LMS to turn in homework instructions on time. Maybe Canvas is totally new to them and they're having a really hard time with due dates, but you find out that they use Google Calendar for work. So you start adding due dates into Google Calendar. That is a great way to communicate with your learners, and there are strategies to do things like that. Or maybe your learners are not particularly digital literate with email, and you find out that everything they do is through WhatsApp. That is an excellent strategy, bringing the mobile device, bringing texting into the class so that you can communicate with them more effectively. And there are strategies in the library for that. So doing things like understanding which tools are most effective to support your learners, addressing accessibility needs based on devices they have or other like physical or cognitive disabilities, understanding what strategies for communication are best for doing things like feedback and assigning homework and other tasks like when is this due. So you are going to help Lauren find some materials, and I'm gonna give you a QR code in just a second and a website link, but I'm gonna give you the story of Lauren. I'm gonna look at my thing so because I don't want to miss anything. So using any of the techniques also that we just talked about. So keyword searches, searching by formats, files, whatever you want to do, however you want to find a resource, you will be free to do that during the scavenger hunt. So this is Lauren, and she teaches ESOL, and a majority of her students only have cell phones, and she's looking for ways to bring smartphones into her classroom. So she wants something that is going to help her students, but she also wants to save time in the classroom and make sure that she's being really efficient with how she brings technology in. And it would be great to offer students engagement through various platforms. So you can scan the QR code or you can go to that website. But based on what I just told you, I'd like you to try to find a resource in the library and give me a suggestion of what you would recommend for Lauren.
What does she want to do again?
She
wanted to ask that.
Yeah. So Lauren teaches ESOL. She's an ESOL instructor, and most of her students only have mobile devices. So she wants to find a way to bring smartphones, bring cell phones into her classroom for instruction. So can you find in the library any resources that would help with cell phones, smartphones in the classroom and kind of mobile integration? Has everyone got the code or the website? Okay. Hey, look, there it is. And you can just shout out ideas when you have them. If you have a suggestion.
No results from.
What did you search?
The categories, or do I have to type in something first?
You don't have to type in anything first.
I just chose instructional material, guide, provide instruction for different tools.
Okay, so it sounds like in the library, there's not something that meets all three of those criteria. So you could remove one of those criteria and see if anything
Okay.
pops up. So it's sort of like a filter system. If you're looking for something that has all three of those things, it might not pop up, but if you're okay with it being one or two,
Okay, and then any, maybe?
yeah, maybe it's any, and maybe it's a keyword search. I don't know. Anyone have any ideas? Anything coming up for folks?
I'm gonna start over with just a keyword search.
Okay, I did see your hand in the back.
You got some instructional materials, the virtual showcase Appaloosa, which is about using tablets and mobile devices in learning settings, opens up many opportunities. So finding and choosing apps. So we choose from here so you can kind of weed them through it. 2022 webinar format, virtual showcase.
I'm looking, I just don't think I typed it. I don't know how to spell palooza. I didn't
Yeah, it's
wanna.
APP, and then hyphen PLAO.
P- like that? Did I miss something? I feel like I missed one more. Oh, I'm like, palooza is such a funny word. Okay, virtual showcase, Appaloosa. So using tablets and mobile devices and literacy settings opens up opportunities for finding and choosing apps. But there's so many. How many apps do we need to use? What apps are they learning? So this is a great example of bringing that in.
How did you get there?
Yes, so-
Yeah, you.
I went through at first I started off with like a super specific prompt, which was integrating mobile technology in the classroom, and then I got nothing.
Okay.
So what it is, I then erased everything.
Great.
All the categories, I just wrote mobile.
Ooh, yeah, let's do that. Let's.
You see, prompting is so tricky. Can we get instructions in prompting?
Yeah,
Because we had one, but.
Yep, that's exactly what that's part of why we're doing this, to like talk through what is effective for this. So I think I know what your challenge is about prompting. You are very used to AI prompting now, which is
Yeah.
very, you have
Specific.
to be so specific.
Yeah.
I am a beginner ESOL instructor and I am looking for bleep, 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 blop. Give like, exactly.
Say it nicely.
And say it kindly. Yes.
Exactly.
This is not that. This is more, what's a good comparison? Like,
It's a database.
it's a YouTube. If I'm typing in something on Google, I'm typing in something on YouTube. I'm not asking a full question. I'm looking for key words related to what I want. So mobile was a great one. So, I see, yeah, virtual showcase, Appaloosa. I see a couple other webinars, actually everything webinar through the Move Forward with Mobile Learning series, which I think actually Jen is yours.
Which one?
Move Forward with Mobile Learning. Is that your? Yeah.
Oh, there it is. There's the
Yeah. That's Jen Dimick. What else did others find? Was it any of these things? Was it something else? Still having a hard time finding a prompt?
What I'm noticing is that we have a lot of different parameters for the search, and so there are way more parameters than there are media in the database. So if you check too many boxes,
Yep.
when you're searching, you're gonna rule stuff out. So
Totally.
I think starting with the keyword search is a really good idea, but
Yeah.
clear out all the filters
Oh, okay.
when you
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
otherwise it'll keep.
You can hit reset and it'll just start you over from scratch. Yeah. But this is user feedback. This was not clear to me,
Yes.
which is also useful. Because we want this to be a useful library for you. We want it to be easy to use.
So I just did mobile and I got the same.
Same 6.
I had started with a couple filters and there wasn't anything that met those specific parameters. so
Sure.
it came up.
I see another hand.
So
You in the back.
I went back and I approached from a different angle for the keyword search.
Great.
And I used framework instead.
Oh, okay.
And then the first thing is triple E framework for more effective technology integration in adult education.
Yeah, that's great.
And that's a blog. So if you're looking for something like, you're like, I don't want a webinar, I want something different. Well,
Yes, that blog is not currently accessible, but it will be.
Accessible.
Yes.
It's there. Technically
That-
somewhere.
You can
Oopsies.
find it if you go to Wayback.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's the way back machine that you can use.
Let's ignore that.
But you can do other stuff here that's.
But Yeah, this,
You go down to the Maryland, district literacy.
yeah, great example.
What do you want? Okay, so we've got, message, so I would put 2 S's in that one, no. That might help.
I am going to, while everyone's playing and sort of getting familiar with the tool, I'm gonna type in the word cell phone, which is what I had in mind when writing this prompt. So effective cell phone usage in the classroom. So this is a webinar on how to use a smartphone in a classroom setting, not only with students, but also for teachers. And it covers using the smartphone for 24/7 engagement. And that's an easy way, bring it in, and it's just a probably 1 hour webinar. Gonna,
When I put in smartphone, I got 2.
yeah,
Device distraction.
that is, here, we'll turn, so,
But I wanna use it. So,
I don't think
but I know what you mean.
If I put,
One
when I
good
put cell
smart
phone
word.
together as one word, it didn't give me anything.
yeah, so I was
And
just
then
gonna
when I
say,
put Smartphone as one word.
yeah, I was gonna say, smartphone is 2 words, does not pull up, but smartphone as 1 does, but that's a good point. I think that's something that we could address in our tags. So yeah, using smartphones to enhance classroom activities, effective cell phone use in the classroom, that same one that I just mentioned.
That's a very good resource.
That's a great, yeah, these are great resources.
I found one that says, tell me the resort
So
word.
maybe if we put both tags in there.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Smartphone separated,
try
cell
another
phones
one.
also together.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah,
when I
we,
put cell phones together.
yeah. And I heard that you said you found the Move Forward with Mobile Learning ones, which are great. Those are awesome resources. I'm gonna hide that for a second and bring it back over to my other screen so that we can look at our next one, because we're gonna do another scavenger hunt, especially now that we kind of have our footing in the library. So planning technology use, the really crux of all of this, right? Like bringing technology and planning on how to do it. So programs and practitioners need to do prep work before they can just bring technology into the classroom. You can't just, again, assume that everyone's ready to go and that it's as simple as just saying, we're going on a computer. Doesn't work like that. You likely have access to resources. And you might want to survey what resources you have and understanding what resources you have through your program. So things like, you didn't mention Burlington English, or was it Burlington English? Yeah, so things like Burlington English or, which is great. That's a great resource if you can bring it into the classroom and you have the tools and skills for your students. Maybe it's making sure that the skills of yourself and your learners are there for tech integrated instruction. Or maybe you want to make sure that you're exploring the just general needs as a whole. So we're going to do another scenario. And this is Maria, who has students with individualized learning plans, but they do not have individualized digital literacy plans. So they have IEPs, but there's no digital literacy, any of that. It's just like basic CCRS. And she wants something that she can integrate into the IEPs that exist, have some kind of digital literacy plan that really blends with what she's already doing. Something that she can manage with her other tasks because teachers are already overworked. And ideally it would be a video or something audio because she does not have time to read through like a 20-page document. She just wants to be able to listen to it and hear about the strategies. So can you help Maria, I'm just gonna pull that up again, just in case you lost it. Can you help Maria find some kind of resource in the library that will help her bring digital literacy to her students, ideally some kind of video or audio? Let's see. Great. Oh yeah, smartphone, telephone, and cell phone. And then checking for those links. Okay. Yeah, pro tip.
Oh, yes.
Oh, you found some? Great. All right. Well, what did you type in? You tell me and we can look at it together. Great. Digital literacy and nothing else. And you know what? I love that.
Then if you get such, then you can use the filter to send things out.
Then when I go through them a bit,
Right.
then I see.
Because
is
they
it
always
that-
Yeah.
videos.
Cause that's great. Cause yeah, 3 pages.
And you
And
said video and, I changed the format to video and webinars and podcasts.
amazing. So yeah, I'll do webinar to start.
So, then you can, yeah.
Yes.
And it looks like there are still quite a few webinars that have
Yeah.
digital literacy, but I'm seeing a lot. So we talked a little bit about like introductions to stuff. So introduction to North Star, which is another one of those tools that you can bring into the classroom. But introduction to digital literacy, where to begin? Where do I even start by bringing digital literacy into my classroom? How do I make sure that they are digitally resilient, so that it's not just in school, but for work in their personal lives?
How long are the webinars usually?
An hour. I would say about an hour typically.
Around 30 minutes because they're lightning talks.
Yeah, that's true.
So like 5 minutes.
Do others stand out? I see developing your digital strategy, building a culture of digital literacy at your program.
Individual student.
Oh, look at that. Being an individual student.
Winner! That's the one that I have in mind. I have like the looking for, this is the ideal resource, and this is the one. So students have individual learning plans. How do their digital literacy plans fit in this website? It's literally the exact description of what I gave you, because this is what I built it off of. But yeah, there's, I mean, a whole page and a half probably of resources on how do I bring digital literacy.
Oh, it's probably because of the Wi-Fi.
No, but I'm saying it works, it's good. Look, it comes.
Oh yeah, yep. That's it. It leads you straight to the resource.
Get your fingertips now.
Yes.
I have to go to.
Does anyone watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine? I saw the smile. Yes. Oh, you can't even see it because it's hidden. Oh wait. Oh no, it's gone. Get out of my way. Where's my mouse? So many amazing human/geniuses in this room today. For anyone who's watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine, you get it. I have to find my mouse because I'm splitting in between 2 screens. So, okay. You asked about this. Why, like, where did it all come from? Why this library? So we
Fact checking.
yes. So we have looked at a lot today. And I think the question, and you nailed it, is why should I care about these resources? Like, why? Like, how do I know? Why should I use these? Why should I trust these resources? And the answer is they are research backed. They're crafted and selected. We built a whole rubric to choose which resources go into this library. So every single resource in the TA library is free. They were crowdsourced from other adult educators. So other adult educators told us this is useful. And they were evaluated before going into the library. So they have been assessed on content quality, ease of use and accessibility, and provenance. And what that means is content quality. It means that it is written in a more plain language. It is in language that adult educators should be able to understand, and that it's accurate and it's up-to-date information. It is logically arranged where you're not trying to sort through 20 pages of ads to find the information you're looking for.
Up to date is a very.
And relevant.
For me, it's.
All of these resources are within the last 5 years. So we do not go further back because we want to make sure that it's as relevant as we can. And as time continues, we'll probably pull some of the older materials out as new materials become available.
can learn, and there's some learning theories that are not.
Yeah.
Valid.
Absolutely. Next on ease of use and accessibility. So that means that it is not behind a paywall or a login. There are a handful of webinars that require a passcode, and it is very clearly labeled in the description, so you can automatically go in. It is not like you have to make an account. It is just like a weird little buffer. And it also information that's presented in a way that's accessible. So again, different formats like webinars, like podcasts, guides, however you want to consume media, there's probably something for you. And then provenance, meaning that the author or the organization that has put together that material is well-known, relevant, and reputable. So we're not going to go to johndoe.com and say, this random guy on the internet said that this is useful, you should do it. We are pulling from national organizations, people who are well-known in the field, to make sure that you can say, I totally recognize that as a name I know, and I feel good and I can feel safe that this has been researched, or that they have a lot of evidence going into why this is a good tool.
So, do you acknowledge every source? Do you cite here?
Oh yeah, so
But it's traceable, you can track it, you all the way down, like, you know what I'm saying, like.
who the publisher is.
Yes.
Yeah, so in I can reopen it really fast. But in the library, if
Because sometimes you create something and you have to, yourself, you have to acknowledge the source and you have to cite it properly.
oh sure.
You know,
Yeah, we don't offer a citation for you to like
but Google can do it. You know, I copy
Yeah.
paste from me and go to.
and pulled it from this. And some materials, like if it's a guide or a toolkit, they might have a citation available. But one thing that we do in this is we will always provide like the resource URL so that you can get in. You'll always know what year it was published as well. And sometimes in these we'll mention like who the publishing author is for that. So that is also sometimes there.
Great.
Yes.
And it always will be. If this has sparked something for you, if you have ideas, please submit a resource. I really encourage it. I want you to think about it. Any resource that you suggest will go through the same process that every other resources have gone through, which basically means I can't guarantee that it'll make it in, but we will absolutely look at it and have it go against our evaluation rubric and say, oh my gosh, this is a great resource. This should absolutely be in here. So that code is available for you if you want to scan something and something's top of mind, but you can also access in the TA library when you're on a web page on your phone, there is a button that says submit a new resource. So it doesn't have to be today, although I would love it if it was today. And you can find it. I keep losing my mouse because of the two screens. But I really encourage you to think about this, think about your colleagues, think about people you work with, ask your friends, ask your colleagues and say, what resources do you think that are not here that should be? What would be useful for other educators to know about? If you want to look at more stuff from CREATE in general, we have a newsletter. We will do one following COAID. We obviously just talked about the TA library, and we have a podcast. And if you care about research at all, we are going to be doing some podcasts with our research teams very soon, which is very exciting. And
This is so
thank you. And if you want to check out other CREATE presentations, you can scan that too. Thank you. Thank you to anyone who's viewing this.